Satellite images show Ukraine destroys $400 Russian submarine, December 19th, 2025. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex. Join me with Aria in the latest podcast by Defense Report for a sharp, no-nonsense breakdowns of the latest in global defense news, military technology, and strategic developments. And today, we're going to cover...
Well, we're covering a strategic victory that really does rewrite the playbook on naval warfare. We are talking about a historic first, truly historic. Ukraine successfully used an uncrewed underwater vehicle, a UUV, to neutralize a Russian submarine, one of their most valuable, most stealthy assets.
And not just anywhere. This wasn't in the open sea.
No, exactly. This was a successful penetration of what Russia considered its safest, most secure port.
Yeah.
Just think about the sheer audacity of it. A drone probably costing, what, tens of thousands of dollars?
Just that. Right. It slips through layers of defenses and strikes a $400 million cruise missile carrier, moored pierside, inside the heavily fortified naval stronghold of Novorossiysk. So our mission for you today is pretty simple. We are going deep into the technical details. We're going to analyze the satellite imagery that confirms the hit. We'll reveal the pretty ingenious engineering behind this new drone and explain why this one single strike has crippled a huge portion of Russia's Black Sea fleet for the rest of this war. You're about to get the full story. Okay, let's unpack this incredible event. Let's start with the timeline. It happened on December 15th, 2025, deep inside Novorossiysk, a port Russia moved its fleet to because they thought it was safe.
They thought it was out of range. Too well defended for the surface drones we've seen before.
Exactly. The Security Service of Ukraine, the SBU, they claimed the attack with the Ukrainian Navy. But before we get to the target, we have to talk about the weapon.
And that's what's so fascinating here, is the evolution of the platform. We've all seen the news about the Sea Baby surface drones, the USVs.
The ones that forced the Russian fleet out of Sevastopol.
Precisely. But this is something else entirely. The SBU is calling it the Sub-Sea Baby.
So can you walk us through the technical difference? We've seen the surface drones that sort of skim the water. How does this new UUV really change the game?
Oh, it changes everything. It's all about depth. A weapon on the surface is, well, it's vulnerable. You can see it with radar, helicopters can spot it, you can even shoot it with machine guns.
Right.
By moving the whole platform just a few feet under the waterline, Ukraine pretty much neutralizes all of those traditional defenses.
Yeah.
This thing is, for all intents and purposes, an autonomous torpedo built for harbor penetration.
So it's not being piloted in real time by someone with a joystick.
No, and that's the key to its success.
Right.
It almost certainly uses pre-programmed waypoints to navigate the complexities of a crowded harbor. It has to avoid nets, boom barriers, mooring lines.
And then for the final approach?
Then internal sensors take over. We suspect it's using something like acoustic homing or passive sonar for that final terminal guidance. It just slipped into a protected area, very congested port, completely unseen. That's a huge technical leap.
And that technical success is just underscored by how important the target was. This wasn't a patrol boat they went after.
No, not at all. They targeted a Russian Navy improved Kilo-class diesel-electric submarine, specifically a Project 636.3 Varshavyanka class.
These are the subs NATO calls black holes, right?
Yeah, that's the one. They have that nickname because of their incredible acoustic stealth when they're submerged. They are an absolute nightmare to track in the Black Sea.
So why risk such a valuable, stealthy vessel? What was it even doing there?
It's all about the payload. The Varshavyanka subs are the main platform Russia has for launching Kalibr long-range cruise missiles.
The very same missiles they've been using against Ukrainian cities and the power grid.
Exactly. So taking even one of these mobile missile launchers out of the fight is a massive blow to Russia's long-range strike capability. The SBU estimates a replacement could cost up to $500 million, especially with sanctions. The cost-exchange ratio is just staggering.
Absolutely staggering. Of course, right after the strike, Moscow's official line was, no damage, everything is fine.
Which was never a credible denial.
Not at all. And when we look at the forensic proof, that story just completely falls apart.
Well, their denial was weak from the start because the successful infiltration alone was a massive failure of their port security. They spent months setting up nets and booms to stop surface drones.
And the Sub-Sea Baby just went right under them.
It rendered those multi-million-dollar defenses completely useless.
And this is where open source intelligence OSINT just shines. Analysts started pulling satellite imagery from Vantor, from Planet Labs, And we got visual confirmation of the aftermath. The drone detonated right off the stern of the sub while it was moored.
And that detonation was substantial. This wasn't just a small blast. The underwater explosion was powerful enough to blow a 9-meter crater out of the concrete pier next to the submarine. That's proof of a very high-yield warhead.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting technically. The drone detonated within about 20 meters of the stern. Now, if you want to neutralize a submarine, why the stern? Why not aim for the middle of the hull?
Because the stern is where all the most complex, most sensitive machinery is housed. You're talking about the main drive shaft, the massive screw propeller, the bearings, the steering controls, the things that make the sud move.
So you don't even need to sink it.
You don't. Even if the hull isn't breached, the physics of an underwater shockwave do the real damage.
Can you break that down for us, the physics of the shockwave?
Sure. Think of a submarine hull, less like a solid wall and more like a finely tuned bell. Water doesn't really compress. So when that warhead goes off, it sends this incredibly powerful high-pressure wave through the water and it smacks right into the hull.
Like hitting a bell with a sledgehammer.
That's a perfect analogy. The bell doesn't need to shatter, but all the delicate components inside, the drive shaft, the bearings, they get subjected to catastrophic vibration. A drive shaft that's misaligned by even a millimeter means the entire propulsion system is effectively junk.
So even if they can patch the hole, the insides are basically scrambled.
Irreparably so, without a full dry dock overhaul. And there's another effect. That same pressure wave is incredibly good at stripping off the anechoic tiles.
The special rubber coating for stealth?
Exactly. That's what gives the black hole its name. You lose those tiles, you lose your primary defense, the sub becomes loud and easy to detect.
We also have that incredible satellite imagery from right after the attack. It showed the submarine sitting visibly lower in the water.
More than a meter lower. That is a textbook clinical indicator of major internal flooding or damage to the ballast tanks in the rear of the boat. It's taking on water.
And then there's the human cost, which really confirms the severity. Reports came out that at least 14 Russian sailors were killed in the blast.
Which just underscores the total failure of security at that base.
Now let's get to one of my favorite parts of this story. The amazing forensic work. Russia tried to downplay it. They even released some of their own footage to show damage control. But analysts figured out exactly which submarine was hit using what they're calling OSINT by paint.
This was just phenomenal detective work. At the time, Russia had 3 of these Varshavyanka subs in the Black Sea. In their own footage, they tried to hide the whole numbers.
Of course.
But the OSINT community noticed a tiny, tiny detail on the damaged sub. It was a very distinct, thin white outline painted near the stern hatch.
A paint job gave it away.
A single line of paint. They cross-referenced that specific marking with years of photos of the entire fleet and got a match. It was unique to the B-271 Kolpino, the newest boat in the Black Sea Fleet, commissioned in 2016.
Just incredible. They identified a $400 million warship from a stripe of paint.
It's a testament to how transparent the modern battlefield has become.
So we have undeniable proof that Kolpino is critically damaged. But Russia will eventually claim they're going to fix it. This brings us to the key strategic point for you listening, that damage is effectively permanent. For the rest of this war, that boat is neutralized.
And that's the absolute core of the strategic victory here. To fix damage this bad, we're talking hull integrity, the entire propulsion system.
Yeah.
You need a specialized dry dock. And Russia simply does not have facilities capable of that level of complex submarine repair anywhere in the Black Sea.
In the past, they would just send it up to the big shipyards in the Baltic, right? Why can't they do that now?
2 very big insurmountable problems. First is the Montreux Convention. Turkey has closed the Bosphorus and Dardanelles Straits to all warships from countries at war. The Kolpino cannot physically leave the Black Sea. It's trapped.
And the second problem?
The second is their internal waterways. Let's say they tried to move it through their river and canal system. The Kolpino has a draft of 6 meters. That's how deep it sits in the water.
Oh.
Russia's main canal network is only about 3.5 meters deep. You just cannot put a 6-meter deep sub in a 3.5 meter deep canal.
Yeah.
So the logistical paradox is total. The boat is stuck, and it's permanently out of action.
And this strike fits into a bigger pattern, a pattern of cumulative attrition. This is the second Kalibr-capable submarine they've lost, after the Rostov-on-Don was hit in Sevastopol.
Right. So if you look at the big picture, Ukraine has now potentially disabled half of Russia's original Black Sea Varshavyanka fleet. They started with 4 of these Kalibr missile carriers. Now they're down to 2, maybe even fewer that are actually combat ready. That is a huge reduction in the missile threat from the sea.
And the most telling Russian response wasn't another denial, it was what they did physically in the harbor right after the attack.
Yes, they were seen sinking barges at the harbor entrance.
Like they built a barricade.
It's a clear and frankly humiliating admission that their sanctuary is gone. They are literally trapping the rest of their own fleet inside a smaller basin, desperate to show they're doing something to stop another UUV from getting in. That tactical retreat says everything.
So this brings us to the final point, the bigger implications here for every navy in the world. This whole thing is just a masterclass in asymmetric advantage.
It really is. You have to keep coming back to that cost exchange. Tens of thousands of dollars for a UUV to take out a $400 million strategic asset. When that's the reality, traditional naval power projection becomes almost impossible to sustain.
And this attack really pours fuel on the fire of what defense analysts call the transparent ocean concept. The whole idea that acoustic stealth might be, well, a thing of the past.
Exactly. The lesson here is that these incredibly expensive, high-value submarines are at their most vulnerable when they're in port, when they're tied up. Every major navy, the U.S., China, they are all watching this very closely.
Because it forces an immediate shift in priorities.
A huge shift. Away from just deep ocean anti-submarine warfare and toward complex, layered harbor defense against these small, autonomous threats.
So what kind of countermeasures do you think we'll see rushed into deployment now?
The focus has to be on detecting and killing small, non-metallic drones. So we're going to see massive investment in things like counter-UUV systems, maybe hunter-killer drones that patrol the seabed, and definitely advanced sensors like quantum sensors, key eye-wides.
And what do?
They can detect tiny, tiny changes in the magnetic field caused by an object moving through the water. It's a technology that bypasses acoustic stealth entirely.
So the subsea baby didn't just hit a submarine, it fundamentally changed how every major naval power has to view its own vulnerabilities, even in their home ports.
It is a profound paradigm shift. It proves that operational ingenuity and cheap, rapidly developed unmanned tech can completely negate conventional maritime superiority. The lesson from Novorossiysk is that the future isn't about the size of your ship, it's about the intelligence of your weapon.
The minnows of the drone age are now fully capable of swallowing the sharks of the 20th century fleet. This incident is a strategic turning point that is going to define naval thinking for decades, forcing even the most powerful navies to retreat inside their own waters. You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex Sanaria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. We'll catch you next time.